Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I am Renee, the host of this podcast, creator, producer, and all. And I'm so excited to be here. I made a goal this year, and as I said at the end of the last episode, I'm allowing myself grace if it doesn't happen every week. But I made a goal to be consistent with having 2 podcasts a week. It's important for me because I have an excitement for doing it, and I feel like I lose the momentum when I don't podcast or record the episodes as often. And I enjoy it. So I'm feeling excited because I have that momentum of recording the second podcast this week. Woohoo! I'm doing the little push the whatever, celebrating in the air with my hands. I can't describe anything that I'm doing. I need to eventually make this a video podcast so we can see each other. Or you can see me and I feel like you can see me. But for now, this is what it is. So today I want to talk to you about affirmations, messages, stories that you tell yourself, whether out loud, subconsciously, just running through your mind at all times, or it's just something you've told yourself long ago, and that has never changed. I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, and there's so much to say about it. And last time it was more about a label you give yourself or an identity. I'm this kind of person. I'm not very strong. I can't lift very heavy weights. I can't run. I'm not a runner, that kind of thing. I'm saying all the things that I do. I do love lifting weights, but I have said out loud many times, oh, I don't lift very heavy, or I can't lift very heavy, or I'm not very strong in the upper body. All of those things that I tell myself create that limit that's where I'm going to stay. And I do move up with weights a little bit, but I haven't worked toward lifting 20, 25 pound, 30, 40 pound weights that I see other women in the gym use, other women my age. I've told myself that that's not what I do, that I'm not as strong in the upper body, therefore I'm not as strong in the upper body. So that was more last week. And that is a story I've told myself, right? But it can also be a label. I'm not strong. I'm not this. It's a description that you've given yourself, or you do have a story wrapped up with it. I have an old blog article that I actually kind of copied and pasted when I started my blog on my website. I had a blog years ago about fitness, wellness, a little bit of yoga. It was before I was actually a yoga teacher, and then I continued once I did my yoga training. But anyway, it was a real story about how when I did my first yoga teacher training, one of the sets of poses that we learned was arm balances or inversions, headstands, things like that. And some of them I'd done before and some of them I hadn't. And some of the arm balances I learned to do, like crow pose. I was okay with it, but I got pretty good at it. And I had always done headstands since I was young, the tripod headstand, where you have your hands down and your head down. But I hadn't done, at least successfully anyway, the forearm headstand, where you have your elbows, your forearms down, and your hands interlace, and your head is kind of cradled by your hands. I tried it once years ago while doing a yoga video, and I don't really advise unless now it's better with YouTube or people who create yoga courses. They teach more detailed, but usually a video that you'd buy at the store or order online or something is not going to have very much detail to explain how to go into that headstand. They just show, now we're going into the headstand. So I didn't really know what I was doing, and I felt like my neck was going to break. And for many people, that is a risk. That is a risk to get injured, maybe not break the neck, but not to scare you or anything, but it is a risk. So you have to be really careful, and it is really advised to have somebody there with you to help you with it. But back to this. I'm in this class, and they're doing this kind of headstand, and I did the other one with ease. But when it got to this kind with the forearm, I thought, oh, no, no, no. I had a story in my mind of I've tried this at home before. I even tried it in a corner against the wall, and it was the same thing. It felt very, very risky. I am so much older than everyone here. I can't do this. And I was in my late 40s at the time. I can't do this. So that was my story. I was okay with not doing it. I never feel FOMO for not trying things that I don't want to do. Some people get pressured into it, like, oh, you're going to wish you'd done it. I thought, nope, I'm fine. I'm fine. But I started looking around and seeing, oh, actually, that woman's my age and she's doing it. And that person, yeah, she can do it. I started seeing my story get a little whittled away, that my reasons for not being able to do it weren't very strong. And I realized that I was with a very, very experienced yoga teacher trainer who could help me with this, and maybe I'd be okay trying it. So I tried what he told us to do, and he was there assisting me, and I went to the wall and learned the proper structure, kind of like building blocks. If you don't have the blocks placed in the right way, they'll fall over. And I hadn't positioned my body in the right way with my shoulders, my head, my neck. And being at that age, just a little disclaimer, if you haven't done headstands your whole life, I don't advise, and this neck surgeon that my husband went to didn't advise, told me not to teach anybody who hadn't done headstands before they were 40, not to teach them headstands, that they don't have the muscle and bone density structure for that. So I'm not advising you to try this unless you're with someone who can guide you with it and your doctor says it's safe. All that aside, I was really surprised that when I changed my story from I can't do this, I've tried it before, and I am not the person to do this, to being open to it, I could probably do this, and learning the proper way to do it, I was able to do it with very, very little effort and very little time. I was shocked that it didn't take me weeks to build up the strength for it in my arms or to figure it out. It took me a little bit of time to get the muscle strength that helped me be balanced. I did it against the wall, probably for just like 3 or 4 days until I got that figured out in my body, in my mind, and I was able to do it in a class like everyone else and thought, "What?" I thought I had it in my mind this will take a really long time, if at all. And there were a lot of things like that that I surprised myself with because I changed the story in my mind to this isn't possible to me or for me, to I can do this. I think I can do this. Why don't I just try? Why don't I just take the steps toward it and see what I can do? And it really helped me see in other parts of my life that I might say, I mean, some people have said to me, I can't believe you have a podcast. That's amazing. Like, how did you figure that out? Like, it's not possible for the average person to have a podcast. And maybe, of course, not everyone's going to do it. Not everyone's interested in it. But I always believed I could. I didn't know how to. I certainly didn't know how to organize my life for quite some time. And I didn't know I had ADHD then. I had so many things in the way. Oh my goodness. Like if I just had a desk, then I could do it. If I just bought a podcast kit, if I just signed up for this, if I just bought new notebooks. Did you know that's an ADHD thing that women do? Is if I just had some new notebooks and it wasn't just one notebook. It was a set of notebooks in multiple colors, and each one would be in this, and this would have my podcast ideas, and this would have, oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever used those notebooks for more than like one page in each or something, and I don't even know where they are. But yeah, so we have those things with these stories of I can do it if, or I can't do it. And if we choose different language, if we choose to believe that anything is possible, and I tend to look for the loophole. I know I said in the last episode, and maybe it wasn't good, but I tend to be a realist too. I have 100% optimism, but I have a little, I guess it's not 100%. I have a little drop of of looking for the exception, and that is an ADHD thing. I don't think that we mean to be argumentative. I think that we look for the loophole, and we are very logical at times. So sometimes I look for is anything possible? Could I fly? Probably not. But if I say that, somebody else could find a way to fly. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're not like a bird, but they found a way to get that experience, hang gliding or something. So, all that being said, I'm going to just say pretty much anything's possible. And most of the time, we block ourselves from what's possible, or just even just being a little more capable or balanced or achieving what we want, having the life that we want by telling ourselves a story that we can't do it. And it's interesting because if you're younger, if you're in your 20s, if you're a teenager, you kind of think everything's possible. Hopefully you do. I know there are a lot of people that are feeling more doom and gloom in their lives, but they tend to just have so much more optimism. I think that's why it works for a lot of people to just jump into marriage when they're younger, because they're just thinking, of course we could get married and be happy. That's, you look back and you think, oh my goodness, how did I make that decision? I only knew my husband for 5.5 months from the time that we met to the day that we got married. We were engaged for like 5+ weeks. And it seems so long. It's so funny now. But I think, how on earth did we know? We didn't know, but we had more of that belief of just taking a leap and, oh yeah, of course that's possible. And having that optimism or that belief, that ability to try, take another step, see what happens, enables us to create new things in our lives that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. I think I've mentioned before that our family moved after a whole life, like whole life, born, raised our kids, all that in California. A couple years ago, we moved to Florida. Never in our lives did we ever think we would move to the other side of the country. And if you've ever lived in California, or if you lived in California for most of your life, my husband and I talk about this a lot because we both lived in multiple parts of California. I don't know if this happens in any other state, but we tend to believe that California is the only place to live. And I know there are a lot of people that think, oh, I'd never live in California. We think like you can't live anywhere else. And there's a very overwhelming pressure and belief, talk about beliefs and stories you tell yourself, is if you leave, you will 100% want to come back and you won't be able to get back in financially. And that does happen for a lot of people. Doesn't mean it happens to everyone. And does it stop a lot of people from moving when maybe their lives could be improved by moving? Yes, it does. We moved to be near our children because we have 6 kids. They're all adults now, and 2 of them have children. So we wanted to be near grandchildren. And they weren't coming to live by us, and they didn't mind us going to live by them. So it wasn't like we were hunting them down or anything. But it was quite a leap to be willing, to be open, to go anywhere our son's family did if he got into a medical school residency program. But we were willing to do it because the priority, the passion was to be near them. But we still had that part of us that thought, we don't know if we can leave California. In fact, we talked about not selling our house and just renting so we could get back in the market. And I thought, but realistically, we're not coming back, figuring that out. But back to, without letting this story get too big, what I want to say is we created a new life at a time of our lives when I didn't think that was even something that people did. And I realized the day that we signed our title papers and stuff at the title office for selling our house. I don't remember the words that the woman said, but she said something about you're starting a new adventure. And what clicked in my mind was when we raise our children, and if you're younger and you're one of these kids who are growing up, just think about this, because you often leave home and go to college. And even if you stay home and go to college, you're embarking on a new adventure. And that's exciting. You're imagining a new life of what will my major be? What do I want to study? You're imagining the possibilities in this story of who you can become. And then as you prepare for graduation, you start to imagine, where will I live? What will my job be? You might get your first job and it's not so great. Mine was kind of like that. I mean, it was fun, but it certainly wasn't a big landing after graduating, majoring in English. It was still fun, and it was exciting because it was down in LA. But once you do that, that's a new adventure. I'm working full time. I have benefits. That feels exciting and new. And and then maybe you do something else, like you have children. All of these things are new chapters of excitement. And maybe we move here and buy our new house. And it's just this adventure. And then as your kids get older, you're more of the sustainer, and you're not recreating your life or inventing it. You have these stories of, we need this full-time job because we need the benefits, we need health insurance, we have all these ways that we've learned that this is stability. Or if you've learned that your stability is being married and you're not in your marriage anymore, that might be a huge shift. And the story you might be telling yourself is, oh no, I'm in a bad place now. And maybe you're actually embarking on being in a better place. And I have some very, very close friends who've been married or were married as long as I am. I just hit, I think, 37 years. And they were almost married as long as I was. And so many of them aren't married anymore, are divorced, and reimagining their lives and feeling like it's a slump. And it probably is in a lot of ways, and yet seeing some possibilities. And I'm really encouraging them to see the possibilities of, yeah, you may not have gotten a great settlement in that divorce. Your husband really pulled out some stops and was not kind in the divorce settlement. But you're starting this business right now, this jewelry business, and you could make more than what he could have ever given you. And creating a new story, a new possibility that I totally believe is possible for her and some of my other friends with what they're doing. And so just finding a way to create a new story in your mind of, and this will get back to me moving to Florida. I know sometimes I get distracted and don't come around. But when I left that title, was called title company office, and whatever that woman told me made something click in my mind of, oh yeah, I've been sending my children off on these great adventures, whether it's to college or going to study abroad or as a missionary or different things that they're doing that they are excited about. And I'm cheering them on. But I thought that part of my life was over. And that's okay. I can have fun supporting my children and having a fun time with my grandchildren. What a blessing that is. Not everyone gets that. Maybe not everyone wants it, but I wanted it, and I'm so happy to be in that phase of my life. But I saw that my husband and I in our 50s were getting to have an adventure that we probably hadn't felt, I don't think, since we moved a few times when our kids were little. It's like, we're moving again, and this is so exciting, and now we live by the ocean, or now we live in Los Angeles, or whatever it was. It was exciting and new, and I can still do that. I can still do that when I'm older, and I can even change the story in my mind from, I don't need to have a full-time job. I can have a podcast. I can have an online business. I can be financially stable, contributing to that instead of always relying on my husband and having him feel the weight of that. That's been my pattern my whole life. I was a stay-at-home mom, and haven't seen myself as someone who could have the ability or possibility of doing that. I am changing that story in my mind, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And I want you to think of whatever stories you have in your mind of, I probably couldn't do that, or I'll never do that. It's a story that you carry around with you every day. And if you look on social media, you see people who are doing different things that you're not doing. And sometimes you might say, oh, that's wonderful. I'm happy for them. Or you might say, oh, I don't think I'd want to do that. Or you might say, yeah, I wish I could do that, but that's not my life. I will never be able to travel there. I won't be able to do that. You could change that story to, I'd like to do that someday. And that could be my experience too. Not that you have to have FOMO or copy people, but even with traveling, I never ever thought I would go to Israel. That would just seem like when I would hear people would go on trips to Israel, I just think, no, 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 thank you. And my son invited me to go with him. And his wife invited me and my husband in 2021, looking into 2022. And I really did not want to do it. And he just said, oh, Mom, but you could walk where Jesus walked. And I'm like, I'm happy for everyone else to do that. I don't need to do that. When I die, I can go there and walk around it. And from the spirit world, that's what I believed. I thought I could do that and I'll be safe. And I mean, he was saying things to try and encourage me to come. And how sweet that my adult son wanted my husband and I to go with them and be travel companions when I was fully willing to watch his children. I'm like, let me watch the children. He said, no, we want you to come with us. And somehow they talked me into it. And I think the only reason I accepted was because I thought that things would shut down with COVID, because they did a few times and they opened up before our trip. And we went and I loved it. I loved it. I had to take that leap of I will be okay. I had to create a new story in my mind that other people go and they come back and you can too. And honestly, I was going to say, I was never afraid while I was there. It wasn't true. There was one time I was afraid, but it was fine. I was okay. But we had some people yell at us that didn't want us to be where we were. And so I was willing to leave. Back to you and the messages that you give yourself. I want you to think of anything that you might say to yourself of I'm not capable, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I could never do that. I could never quit my job. I can never get out of this relationship. It doesn't have to be a spouse or boyfriend relationship. It could even just be a friendship that maybe just isn't bringing positivity to your life, or somebody's dependent on you and it's draining you, or it's bringing some negativity into your life. If you ever feel trapped in something, identify that situation. It's not how I wanted to say it. I wanted to say just recognize that and see if you feel trapped because you feel like you don't have a choice. You can't get out of that, and see if you can in some way. Tell yourself that you can and find a way to do that. But whatever you say to yourself shapes your reality. And if you can reframe or reshape the story that you're telling yourself, it will reshape your reality. It will create a new reality for you. I might have told myself for many years that I'm not going to have any more adventures, but isn't this fun watching my children have them? And I would see other people, other families feeling like we really felt like we should move to Texas, or we really felt like we should move to Wyoming, and we bought a ranch here and we did this and this. And, I've seen Californians move away for many, many years. And it wasn't that I was longing to do it. I thought, I wish I had some direction or some adventure or some fun thing like that. I was happy where I was too. It wasn't that, but I thought how fun that they've got this new adventure. And I hadn't really thought it was possible for me. But once I did open that up and said to my husband, we should move where they move and help them when he's in residency. And it's been a great, great, great adventure. And it's changed our framework for the rest of our lives of we don't even have to stay here after this. We could, or we could move up. Our daughter moved to Virginia. We could try moving to Virginia, or maybe they'll come back down here and we'll do this or this. It just makes it so you feel like you have this clean canvas and you could paint again. You could add, paint another painting in your life. So whatever your language is that you're running these ideas through your mind that might be stopping you in some way, see if you can find different language and believe that anything is possible, or just think of something different being possible. It's not that you're thinking, I can never do that. You just didn't even consider that as a possibility for yourself. And if you're completely comfortable where you are, that's fine too. Don't feel like you have to just make all these changes. But sometimes we think as we get older, I know I do, is this is too late in life. And it's funny because I look back and when I was younger, teenager, young out of college, I felt like I was too young to achieve certain things. And then somehow I switched from being too young or inexperienced to achieve certain things to being too old. It's like, what's wrong with me not figuring out that I could have done that? And I will look at famous people who have done things or people who've authored books and see that they did those at those ages I thought was too young or in my mind too old. Not true. They didn't have that limiting belief, that limiting story that they have. And so if you set yourself up with this mindset to begin with, then you can work toward it or you can look at the possibilities. And there are affirmations. I don't know if you've looked into affirmations before, but people talk about them a lot. I am not a big expert on affirmations, but I have learned a lot about them through my yoga teaching and through my trainings. And I've learned that they're very, very powerful, more powerful than I thought possible. I don't teach them that often, but I've experienced them in other yoga classes and workshops. And I just want to share with you what I've learned and see if any of this appeals to you, if it seems like what you would want to do, because there are different ways that you can use affirmations in your life. And affirmations are a positive message that you can write, or you can look them up on Pinterest. You could Google this many affirmation, whatever it is, or somebody you follow on Instagram, whatever it is, you can find affirmations that appeal to you and write them on a Post-it note and put them on your mirror. You can actually use lipstick. I don't know if people do that anymore. I think they actually use wipe-off markers on mirrors now, but we used to write on mirrors with lipstick, and that was fun. That was fun. But you can actually write on a mirror with a wipe-off. What do they call those? The whiteboard markers. And you can write things like, I am enough, I am intelligent, I am worthy of being listened to. This is something that women with ADHD struggle with. Whether you are talkative and love to chat and love to express yourself, or want to really be understood and don't feel like people understand you. And so, you can see people's eyes glazing over. You are worthy of being listened to. You are worthy of being heard, even though everyone doesn't want to hear you all the time. You are important to many people. This is really a helpful affirmation to have in your mind, is to think about who you are important to, who loves you, who depends on you in some way. Even if they don't depend on you. My mom and dad are both still alive, and which I feel very grateful for. A lot of my friends I grew up with don't have their parents alive anymore, and they're both in good. They both had the flu and pneumonia actually the last few weeks, but mentally, brain-wise, they are both very healthy in their brains, where they can have conversations and not forgetful and all that. They're very sharp. And even though they're not dependent on me, maybe they are in some way that I don't realize, I am very, very important to them. I am. My dad always says I'm his favorite daughter because I have 4 brothers. So, I'm the only daughter. That's always his joke. But anytime that someone is treating you poorly, if you can just say that to yourself, I am important to these people, or just think of the people who love you, understand you, and appreciate you, is very powerful, because that is a very strong force to your being to feel that if somebody is treating you badly. And I haven't had that many times in life that I've been in that situation, but I've had enough where I've used that, where someone who hardly knows me for whatever reason, a tire shop, it happened once, or once in a parking lot. You may be able to have your own experiences that come to mind that were not good, where somebody's yelling at you or treating you unfairly or criticizing you in an unkind way. And if you just tell yourself, I am worthy, I am important to a lot of people, they understand me, they know my value, I am loved, I am lovable. And even if you don't say it out loud, you probably shouldn't say it out loud because that person might upset him more. You just want to cut and run at that point. But just that can help you through hard situations like that, to recognize that. Understanding your gifts. Sometimes when we're around people who are just so talented, so gifted, so many achievements, and maybe your achievements can't be written in a magazine of look what this person has done and all these credentials. Recognize your own gifts. Write them down. Let yourself know all the things that you've done that are amazing. Even when my kids were younger, at the end of the day, if my house was still, it was just not in the shape that I wanted it to be in, but I thought we made it through another day and we had some great times together and some great memories. And I fed my children and hugged them and have a good relationship with these people in my life. This is a good day. Recognize the things that are good about your day, about yourself, about your life, instead of just closing your eyes in bed and thinking of all the texts that you didn't answer. A lot of times these things come to mind because our mind gets a little quieter. And so we start to have remember all the things that we didn't remember during the day. Oh my goodness, I still haven't answered this person's text, or I still haven't done this thing. And sometimes we kind of get into that swirl. And if you write those things down, if you have a notepad by your bed or put it on your phone, notepads are nice because the action of doing it is helpful, and you're more likely to see it, because if you get on your phone, if you write in your notes, you might not remember to look at it, and you might get distracted if you get on your phone. But just any positive messages that can help you not feel bad. And even just if you feel overlooked in life or in certain circles, certain friends, certain people, maybe where you work, writing down, I may be overlooked at times, but I am worth getting to know. And not everybody wants to be friends with you or puts time in developing a friendship with someone that you might want to get to know. And sometimes that can be challenging. And just letting yourself know I'm worth getting to know. And even if they don't recognize it, you'll probably find someone else in your life who does recognize that. And then your brain, learning more about ADHD and the dysfunction. It does stand out more now that I understand that, but also recognizing that your brain is amazingly capable. Look at all that you can do in spite of this and the gifts that you have that might be a part of ADHD or might be separate. So there are different approaches that you can use your affirmations. Let's say you have some written down. You can write them yourself. You can print out others. I really advise writing them by hand, whether it's on cute little note papers or, something that you want to see, colors that you like or something like that. But I really do think it gets more into our beings if we're processing it through the action of using your hands and writing or even saying them out loud. But start each day. So you could do, this is one approach, is just start each day. Have it be your morning ritual. Start each day with saying some positive affirmations. You could wake up, go into the bathroom, have them on your mirror, or if you don't want other people to see them, maybe have them on the front page of a notepad and have that notepad in your toothbrush drawer. And wake up and say those affirmations out loud. You could say them silently, but if you're in the bathroom, the door's locked, you could say them out loud. And look in the mirror and say them and recognize your greatness and have that add to your confidence, hopefully, and your self-worth. And it just can be a positive start to the day. You could even do it at the end of the day. You could say, I am still this, I am that, I'm, whatever that is, and just have it be part of your day. You can even go on walks and say things while you're walking. There was a woman that I used to do workout DVDs with, and she's actually passed away, but she started a new direction with her workouts a few years before she died, where she said, we no longer, we shouldn't spend time anymore as fitness instructors counting to 8 over and over, like 5, 6, 7, 8, or counting down 4 more reps or whatever. She was saying, let's use this time to say affirmations. And she would have the people in class say them out loud with her, which was really cool. And that made me think I could go for a walk. I could go running. It takes a little more wind out of you to talk, but it's actually better for you heart wise and breathing wise to be able to talk while you're exercising. Because if you've ever been a fitness instructor, it takes more energy. It's harder to get through a workout talking the whole time than it is to just do the workout. And so you could just start your workout and have things that you say to yourself over and over. Isn't this great? Even if it's just a sentence you're making up on the fly, isn't this great? I'm outside going for a walk, and only the birds can hear you saying it or whatever. But it can just help boost you up a little bit. And maybe you don't want to talk out loud to yourself, but you could say it to yourself. But I like the saying out loud. It kind of makes me crack up. And then also you could even just make some cards, make a little set of affirmation cards, and maybe have like 30 for the month, 31. And every day pick one and carry it with you in your purse, in your bag, put it on your desk, on your bathroom mirror. And each day you get a positive message, an affirmation for yourself. I would imagine there are sets of these that you could buy online, but you could just find your own, print them out, write them up or something, and maybe rotate through them. If you found 31 that you loved, maybe this is something I'll do. Maybe I'll make some, have them on Instagram, Pinterest. Okay, I'm going to do that. It's one of my goals. It may not happen this month, but it might. So we'll see. Because that would be a great way to do it too. You could rotate them and just have them. You could pick your favorite ones and rotate them where you get them 12 times a year. Each month you get to choose one, but you rotate through them every month. You could also have reminders on your phone. And there are apps that deliver affirmations at different times of the day that you see this message. You could even send yourself an email. That might seem weird, but I send myself emails sometimes as reminders to cancel, like a 7-day trial or something. You could send yourself emails if you wanted to do it that way, or have them pop up through an app or something like that. And you could also do journaling. So if you enjoy journaling, you could start out by writing down an affirmation and then reflecting on that, and maybe expound and write about whatever you've accomplished that day, or the qualities I swear I can't talk sometimes. I'm so sorry. The qualities that you appreciate about yourself, or that you recognize in yourself. And it's kind of interesting because you might feel like, oh gosh, this is so much self-talk. Yeah, it is, but it's not like you're going to be doing it all at once. But I recognized at one point when I was teaching yoga, because, as a yoga teacher, a lot of times we talk about breathing and how you feel in your body and what you're thinking about and that sort of thing. And I recognized that I could have a class of 20, 30, 40 people, and I have no idea what's going on in their minds, what they walk into class with, what's going on in their lives, what's weighing heavy on their mind or excited in their minds, what they walk out with. I don't know what it's like to be them in their thoughts, in their life experiences. I certainly don't know what it's like to be in their bodies. And then when I say, let's go into a pigeon pose, I can get an idea, but I don't really know where they're feeling it and what that's like for them. And so I often give them a lot of instruction on how to understand on their own if what they're doing feels safe or good, and how to make changes. And I also give them full permission to change anything they need to do or do something different, because I really don't know what it's like for them. Even if I ask for feedback, sometimes people aren't completely honest because they don't want to upset me or feel like they're not doing it right, or they're embarrassed, or they don't want the attention or that kind of thing. And it made me realize over time that, and this is getting back to you, is that you are the only person, no one else, even the people who know you the best, no one else knows what it's like to be you. They don't know what it's like to be in your mind, to have your body, to feel what it's like to walk around in your body or lay down or sit down or exercise or whatever, but especially in your mind and in your spirit. No one but you gets to experience being you. And I think it's pretty amazing that you get to experience being you, because everyone is amazing. Everyone is just this. I mean, yeah, there's some bad people in the world. I told you I always look for those exceptions, but let's cross those people out right now. You are an amazing, amazing, amazing human being, and no one will ever get to know what that's like to be you, be in your body and be in your mind. And so anytime that you can cherish that, just slow down, experience that, appreciate that, and give yourself good messages, good feelings, appreciate, enjoy, savor the way that feels for you. That is important to do, because no one else can truly give you that except for yourself. Does that make any sense? Like, no one else. We do love accolades from other people. We do love support from other people and validation. I mean, it's amazing to get that from other people, but we can't control who gives it to us and how much they give, or if they understand us completely. So getting to understand yourself and recognize where you might be getting in the way of yourself achieving what you want or just enjoying who you are, it's important for you to find ways to do that. And whether affirmations have to be written or not, this is one way. What's nice about it is it does just kind of like a yoga class. It's not that that hour in yoga is the most important thing in the world, but during that hour, you're learning things that you can do all the other minutes of the day, with the mindfulness, with the settling in your body, and recognizing when something feels okay or not okay. And the same thing with the affirmations. They are important in the time that you're doing them. But the fact that you're getting in the practice of giving yourself positive messages, in my mind, is more important, because it will make it so that you can give positive messages to yourself at other times when you need them, when it's not written or anything like that. So the journaling, I think that's the last thing I was talking about, is reflecting through journaling can be wonderful. Or if you're on a walk, like I said before, even if it's not out loud, I know I said saying it out loud's fun, but even if you're not doing it out loud, or if you're getting a massage, or you're in a yoga class or something like that, that you just have time to just relax in your own mind. You could be getting a pedicure or something, just reflecting on your accomplishments, good qualities, and your possibilities about yourself. And then meditations. So some people are very open to meditations, and some people are hesitant, like, oh my goodness, what is that? It can be so simple. It can be just having a few minutes each day to sit quietly and just try to let go of everything else, which I know sometimes is the most advanced form of yoga. Just sit in a quiet place, just listen to your breathing, and you could do nothing else, but you could repeat affirmations that resonate with you while you do that. When I first did meditation, this is long before I taught yoga, I actually set a buzzer, a little kitchen timer. I don't even know if they have those anymore, the little white plastic ones that you kind of dial. Is before my kids got up. I think it was when I had 6 children, but I could have had 5. I remember which house we were in. But I would get up before they did, and I would just go sit on the floor in front of the couch. And I like to have something behind my back because I'm not as comfortable just kind of sitting in the middle of the room. So that was supporting my back. I would set the timer for 10 minutes and I would just sit there and breathe. And at first it seemed kind of long, but eventually it got so much shorter. And anytime my mind would wander, I'd kind of bring it back to breathing. But you can do it and just say something like, I am strong. I am calm. I can do great things, whatever it is. I know that's not poetic, but you can say things that boost that belief in yourself. One of my favorite ways to do affirmations, at least the most powerful that I have ever done, and it was in a yoga training for teenagers. So it was like how to teach teenagers yoga. And I was surprised that so much of this training was more about boosting, and it was more for girls because they're probably the ones that do yoga more. But it was about boosting their self-esteem, their self-worth, because that is a time of life where that's just going down, 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 down. And there were just so many great stories. The woman who taught this used to teach yoga to teenage girls in a juvenile detention center. So they'd been through a lot. And I can share that another day if you're interested, but some of the stories and how it helped so many of these girls. I mean, she would teach while there were fights going on in another part of the room of people who were interested. Sometimes she could only teach in part of this giant room, but it still had power for those who were there, whether they even participated or not. And with the feedback that she got. But one of the things that I learned in this training was to write down several messages that you want to tell yourself. And I did this with my friend, and one of the things that was important to her was that she had a sense of humor, that she was funny. And she said, not everyone thinks she is funny. And I love the idea, because I ended up kind of doing this too. And I don't know, I'll have to look through my notes from that training and see if I can find it, the things that I wrote down. But it was a list of maybe 5, 7, 10 things that I saw in myself, and other people didn't necessarily see it. Sometimes we diminish what we know about ourselves because others can't see it. And so for my friend, one of her things was, I am funny. And she took joy in that, even if other people couldn't see it. And I think that's kind of great, because I don't know that I'm necessarily funny. When I'm with my favorite friend that we laugh and laugh with, we're both hilarious, but not everyone thinks we're funny. Like some people you have that connection with where you both crack each other up. But sometimes I think things or say things that I think are really clever and funny, and I don't know that anybody else gets it, but I can find joy in that, So if it's something like that, but you write this little list, and I'll see if I can find mine and share it a little bit at the beginning of the next one. But you write this list, and what we did is we paired up. So we had, I was in this training with however many other people, and we got into pairs. We each wrote our list, and then we took turns, and I laid down on my yoga mat. You're on a yoga mat, but you could lay down anywhere. And the other person read my list to me 10 times slowly. And it was interesting to see what happened, because when I've Googled like the power of someone, like recording an affirmation, having it, or having someone else read it to you, they recommend repeating it like 3 to 5 times. But I'm pretty sure she did it at least 10 times. And what happened was hearing these things that I wanted myself to know, without myself saying it, without having to say, just being the listener. The first time through, I thought, yeah, those were the things. Second time through, I thought, yeah, that's nice. Third time through. Fourth or fifth time, it's very emotional. It's very emotional, and you'll have to see how it works for you. You could have a friend participate in it with you. You could even ask them just to record it. I did that for a friend of mine, the one that I said had on her list that she was funny, because I think her list was like, I'm important to many people, to my children. Anyway, she had her list, and I said, if you want to participate in this, I will say them. I'll make a recording and say them 10 times, and you lay down and you just listen. And it had a similar effect to her, because it's almost like at the beginning, we believe it, we hear it, but the more that we hear it, and especially I think when someone else says it, it really resonates in how much we need to hear it, and how much it nourishes our souls, how much we need that. And so if there's a way for you to do this, if you could even record them yourself and say them over and over that many times, make a little audio recording on your phone. First, get out your notepad, write your list of at least five affirmations. And they're coming from you. These aren't things that you Google. These are things that you believe about yourself, but you might not recognize very often, or that you just want to make sure you always know. It could be 5 things. It could be 7 things. They could be short. They could be longer. And then either have a friend or a relative or someone read them slowly to you in person. I loved doing it that way. Or have them read it and make a recording so you hear their voice, or read it yourself 10 times, the whole list through 10 times. So you're not repeating 10 times. You're repeating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, doing that 10 times. And just see what it's like. And you don't have to do it that often. You could do it once and see how it affects you. You could tweak it if you want to. You could do it once a week. You could do it once a month. My friend still pulls hers out and does it. I don't have mine recorded that I did in that yoga class, but I think I have it written down somewhere. But anyway, that's my recommendation today. See if that can help you with whatever stories tend to get running in your head, or just that you just carry around with you all the time. They're just a part of you. It's not something that you always say, but it's just something that you've accepted long ago, or you were told long ago, and you thought, yeah, that's how it is. And then later you think, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. It could actually be different, and it can open new possibilities for me. And I could actually accomplish this, that, or the other, or make changes in ways that I really need. And that could be really wonderful. If you end up trying any of these approaches to affirmations, can you send me a note? Let me know. You can email me if you want. It's here I am. I'm hacking the go to my contacts on my website, or you could write me a DM on Instagram. But if you really wanted to email me, it's Renee at inspiringwomenadhd.com. So just RENEE at, and is this going to make me get a lot of spam? I hope not to say it on my podcast, but Inspiring Women ADHD, no width in the email, because that just seemed really, really long. But inspiringwomenadhd.com. Send me an email and let me know if it was helpful in any way, what it was like, or if you try more than one way, what worked for you better, or maybe they do in different ways. But thank you so much for being here today. This is a little longer one, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind if you don't mind. I think I don't know if I'm right, but I think my only other episode that is close to an hour long is the one that I made to help you if you need to take a nap or fall asleep at night. I don't know if you found it, and I don't even know what it's called. Let me see if I can find it. Just one second. Okay, I found it. It's episode 39 from October 7th of last year. It's called Better Sleep Strategies for Naps and Nighttime. So I thought if I talked about sleep stuff in a sleep one, that could be good. You could either listen to it or use it at nap time. But I love listening to podcasts when I'm trying to fall asleep, because my brain can follow it, but I can, it just takes me away from my other thoughts. And my brain follows it, but doesn't have the other thoughts come in until it doesn't follow it anymore. And then it just goes to sleep. And I have a few podcasts that I use, and then sometimes I add ads, and one podcast that I like to fall asleep to just changed their producer, and now it has different music. And I'm like, why did you do that? Now it's not helping me fall asleep. So I don't know what the future of this podcast is right now. I do all of it, so there aren't any commercials, there aren't anything else. But I will do all I can to keep that episode just the way it is, because I have listened to some episodes like literally dozens of times, because I know those are the ones I'll fall asleep to the easiest. And I'm really careful not to listen to them while driving or any other time, because you don't want your brain to get used to using it to fall asleep and then have a problem when you're driving. But anyway, that is it for now. Yeah, feel free to write to me. Let me know how these affirmations are working, or if they do work for you. And I will write down before I forget, because I do forget, that I'm going to make some affirmations too that will be helpful for women with ADHD. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. Do me a favor, if you can, tell a friend, or if you're in any groups with women with ADHD, or even women who just struggle with some of these things in life, send them to my podcast, because it's mostly directed to women with ADHD, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have information that might be helpful to other women too. So, or men. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you again. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.